and welcome back to the channel once again. My name is Andy and today we're back with the race and weekend roundup for round 16 of the 2018 Formula 1 World Championship. It is the Russian Grand Prix from Sochi in the south of Russia, the former Olympic Park in Sochi that hosted the 2014 Winter Olympics. And we're going to get straight into the weekend roundup in just a second, but once again, just like to thank everyone who has been watching the race roundups recently. I remember starting this off at the start of the season and seeing maybe about 50 views. Azerbaijan done about 1,300, which was phenomenal. And since about mid-season, it's been anywhere from 130 upwards to 500 for Italy, which is brilliant. I think Singapore was around about 300-400 views as well, so it's been great to see the sort of consistency now of the views as well. So thank you very much to those that are watching on a regular basis. It's great to see. If you haven't already done so, do hit the subscribe button. I'm up and over 50 subscribers now, so heading towards 100. I'd love to get there as soon as possible. It'd be a lovely wee birthday Christmas present to do it before the end of the year, obviously, but I'm not going to get too greedy. But if you haven't subscribed and you don't want to miss any future videos, do hit the subscribe button and do hit the like button as well if you enjoy this week's roundup. But first of all, the build-up, and there was a few further announcements in regards to the 2019 driver lineup. One of the first ones was the Haas driver lineup, and as was expected, Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean have been retained by the American team for their third season. It's the third season that both of them will be kept on. Magnussen, not surprised. Grosjean, kind of expected with his resurgence through the middle part of the season from Austria onwards, but he's still sitting 3 points away from a race ban, and there was obviously a bit of thought of what could have happened. The announcement at Sauber that I'm about to go on to kind of obviously knocked that one on the head as well, but kind of expected. Certainly Magnussen, I'm not surprised at all. We now know the Sauber lineup is Kimi Raikkonen alongside Antonio Giovinazzi. So everyone thought that Raikkonen was Ferrari's pick. Ferrari have one pick for a Sauber seat. They get to choose who goes into at least one of those Sauber seats. This year was Charles Leclerc, and everyone thought that Raikkonen was their pick to go into that seat for 2019. And as it turns out, it wasn't actually Kimi who was picked by the Scuderia. Sauber went and done that one on their own accord, and it's Ferrari's pick is actually Giovinazzi, who's been third driver for Sauber this year along with Haas. He was a possibility to replace Grosjean at the American team. So the Italian will be the first full-time Italian driver since Jarno Trulli and Viantonio Liuzzi in 2011 to be full-time on the grid. Giovinazzi has not raced full-time since 2016 when he was second in the GP2 Championship to Pierre Gasly. So it's going to be interesting. He's obviously done a couple of races for Sauber, replacing Pascal Wehrlein last year when the German was injured in the Sauber. So it'll be interesting to see how he does next year in that car. Right, that will put him alongside Raikkonen in the car for next year. And the final announcement that we've seen driver-wise is the return of the Russian torpedo, Daniel Kvyat, back in the role at Toro Rosso, back in the Red Bull family. So he was obviously Toro Rosso, he got promoted to Red Bull, he then got demoted, he then got dropped, he then got put back in the car, he then got dropped altogether. He's went off to Ferrari as a development driver for a year. He's now back for next season at Toro Rosso. He will take Gasly's seat for 2019, and there is still the talk of obviously Hartley being dropped. The rumour is that Pascal Wehrlein might come back and take that second seat. He is no longer a Mercedes junior. He has been dropped from his role as a Mercedes junior, and supposedly Toro Rosso management are actually keen on the German So there is a possibility he might rejoin the grid. They would take Ocon, but he is not going to be released from his Mercedes contract, and I've been going on about it for a few weeks now. I don't want to see the Frenchman leave the grid, but it's looking likely. But Kvyat back to Toro Rosso, Giovinazzi in at Sauber, and both the Haas drivers staying on for a third year were the four lineup changes or announcements made for 2019 on the eve of the Russian Grand Prix. Into the practice sessions itself, nothing much really going on. FP1, Vettel led, and then in FP2 and FP3, Mercedes and Hamilton fought back, leading both of those sessions. Honda trialled a new engine. I'll come on to that later on when I'm going through the drivers at the end. They trialled a new upgraded engine in preparation for this week's race coming in Suzuka, their home track, which is supposedly worth quite a bit of time. But they then reverted back to the normal engine for the race itself. On to Q1 into qualifying, that's seen both Williams drop out along with both McLarens. Again, two former championship teams fighting for scraps. If you asked someone back in the 90s, they'd said this, they would probably have laughed at you. And it was also Brendan Hartley that dropped out as well. And in Q2 was a bit of a farce for the first time in quite a while, as neither Renault ran, neither Red Bull ran, and Gasly didn't run. There are different reasons why they didn't run. The Red Bulls we knew coming in had engine penalties. They've reverted back to the B-spec Renault engine for reliability reasons. Gasly had an engine penalty along with Hartley because they had ran the upgraded spec engine in practice and gone back to the old spec for reliability. And the Renaults didn't run because of tactical reasons. They knew there was engine penalties for others ahead of them. It meant they were going to be further up the grid anyway, so they were like, what's the point? We'll just take the choice of tyres that we want and we'll just run from here. So nobody ran in Q2, meaning that Marcus Ericsson got into Q3 and he could have tottled around with his slippers on if he wanted to and still got in with a 14-minute lap if he wanted to. Q3 itself, it was actually Valtteri Bottas. He seems to enjoy Sochi as well as the Red Bull Ring. He took the pole position from his teammate Hamilton. Hamilton ran wide and made a mistake on his final lap and actually aborted his final lap. But he was, still in the front row. He was, congratulatory towards his teammate Valtteri on making the pole position. A bit frustrated himself though, but they were half a second clear of the Ferraris. Now the Ferraris had pace only 2-3 races ago. Where the hell has it gone? What is going on at Ferrari? Has Mercedes just found a performance upgrade, or what is going on? Everything just seems to, again, this time of the year at the crunch point, Mercedes just seem to find an extra step, or Ferrari capitulate. I don't know which one it is, but something just seems to happen at this point of the season, and it all goes to pot for Ferrari. But anyway, Bottas took pole. It was Hamilton second, Vettel third, Raikkonen in fourth, Magnussen was fifth, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari driver next year, obviously P7 in the Sauber. Lovely effort from him. But obviously, most people were talking about Q2. There's been talk of changing qualifying for next year. There's talk of it being 4 stages in qualifying. 4 drop out in Q1, 4 drop out in Q2, 4 drop out in Q3, and we have a Q4 where it's just the top 8. And the top 8 still have to run the tyres they qualified in Q3 on. So it's similar to what it is now. They just add in an extra session and only 4 drop out. Makes it harder to get into that final qualifying session. This has kind of been thought about even before this session. It's just kind of coincidental that it came about because of what happened on Saturday. If it improves the show, cool. There's going to be shorter times between the sessions, so you don't have as much time to get a lap right, more chance of mistakes, more chance of problems. So it could be interesting. I think there's more bigger problems than the qualifying format that needs to be addressed. So yeah, that's for a different video on a different day when I've got more time. The race itself, it was a decent start from the pole sitter. Vettel got a good start. Hamilton spun the wheels up a little bit, and Vettel was just ahead for a split second going through the sweeper, which is technically turn 1. But then Hamilton got a bit of slipstream off his teammate, was able to get back ahead on the run down into turn 2, and then Vettel nearly got a run round the sweeper of turn 3 again, but it was still held to be the status quo through there. Behind them, Leclerc got the jump on Ocon up to P6, while Verstappen, starting P19, jumped up to P14 pretty quickly. He avoided quite a lot of hassle behind him. Sirotkin hit Sainz, Gasly got a shocker of a start, and the Dutchman jumped ahead of his teammate and up a number of places really, really quickly. And then at lap 2, Charles Leclerc, a beautiful move round the outside of Kevin Magnussen, around the outside at turn 3. Got a great run out of turn 2, got alongside the Haas and just powered round the outside. And it was just brilliant. And as David Croft on the Sky Sports F1 commentary said, if he was in the Ferrari, we would be, even more accolades would be thrown at the Monaco driver. But it was a brilliant move from him, and it was just a point he made during the race. He would finish very, very well. We'll come on again towards the end as I go through everything. But it was a brilliant move from him, and one that Verstappen would repeat later on his team, on Ericsson, on Leclerc's teammate Ericsson, later on in the race. Now, Verstappen, through the start of the race, was on the soft tyres, the hardest tyres going, and it didn't take him long to sieve his way through the field. The Dutchman on his 21st birthday weekend had the bit between his teeth. He really, really did. And watching him in those first, I think it was 7 laps it took, that was it, for that Red Bull to get from 19th to 5th. 7 laps was all it took. Some lovely overtaking, DRS assistance as well, obviously, but he was a man on a mission. He just was brilliant to watch. He passed both the Reynolds really quickly by lap 3. He was up to P11, into the points by lap 5. Lap 5 we also seen both the Toro Rosso spin with Gasly at turn 4, Hartley at turn 2. I had to, like most people, double takes. I thought it was the same replay, but no, it was both drivers. And they retired. And before long, Verstappen was up into the points, up ahead of everybody, and then into the top 5, where he would stay until the pit stop phase. Just a phenomenal start to the race from the Dutchman. Just brilliant overtaking, and whereas before he might have been over aggressive, he was picking his points. He was aggressive but not overly so, and he's really starting to show some good maturity, I would say, and hopefully that is something that continues on. He was giving drivers no time at all to think, where is he going? He's just, there is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, goodbye. Brilliant stuff. Up the front, it was holding station up front, but Mercedes were pulling away a little bit from Vettel, and this is again going back, what is happening with Ferrari? They just can't seem to keep the full pace consistently. I don't know what's going on. Vettel kept third, and behind them though, the Haas drivers were struggling badly on the hyper soft tyres. The leaders were on the ultra softs, managed to get through Q2 obviously on the ultras rather than the hypers, obviously with the farcical session. Grosjean pitted on lap 10, and Magnussen managed to hold on another couple of laps, including shutting the door on Ocon, which prompted a few calls that he was being over aggressive again from Force India. And then a couple of laps later he pitted along with Valtteri Bottas, the first of the leaders to pit. Lap 12, end of lap 12 he pitted, moved from the ultra soft to the soft tyres. It was to be his only pit stop, and he rejoined in P5 behind Verstappen. Next lap round, Vettel pitted. Now I expected him to pit Hamilton before Vettel, but no, Ferrari pulled the trigger first, ultra softs to softs, rejoined behind Bottas. It took until the end of lap 14 before Hamilton pitted, and he came out behind the Ferrari. So now we had a race going for us in a moment. Now we had something going on. Vettel had jumped his championship rival in the pit stop phase, so could Hamilton get back ahead was going to be the interesting point. During this point as well, Ricciardo had managed to make his way up to P6, mainly due to some passing moves and the pit stop phase he's starting as well, but not with the same sort of speed that Verstappen had. Don't know quite what was going on there, but we did find out later on that he had some contact in the opening laps that taken away some of these, a bit of his front wing end plate. It dropped the downforce, meaning he was struggling a bit. So that's what meant he couldn't move up the field as quick as he wanted to. I think Ted Kravitz said it was something like 30 points of downforce, which quantify that as you wish, but it meant he didn't have the downforce he'd normally have. But we now had Raikkonen leading from Verstappen, Bottas third, Vettel in fourth, and Hamilton in fifth place. Obviously, Raikkonen and Verstappen hadn't stopped. Raikkonen going long, Verstappen on the soft tyres going really, really long into the race. Lap 16, Hamilton, DRS down the front straight, closing up really, really quickly. Verstappen moves to the inside line towards turn 2. Hamilton reflexes really, really quickly to avoid what could have been a huge crash. Managed to avoid that from happening. Some people say Vettel moved twice. I can see where they'd maybe think it, but I do still think it was within one move. The stewards were right not to give him a penalty for that. It was borderline, yes, but it was still fine to do. But then the run Hamilton got through turn 3, Vettel couldn't see him in the peripheral vision because of the sweeper that is turn 3, and Hamilton made the move on track into turn 4, and he was ahead of his championship rival, and that was him through and back ahead, and the status quo was returned with provisionally Bottas in the lead from Hamilton and Vettel. Obviously Raikkonen was still due to pit and did so on lap 18, rejoining back in P5 and net P4. Verstappen leading at this point still on the soft tyres, obviously running very, very long into the race. And then things started slowing down a little bit in terms of what was going on track. Lap 20, 21, we started hearing radio messages that kind of made the main topics of conversation. This wasn't the main one, but it was team orders. And the first part was from Force India. Obviously, after Singapore, they're no longer racing. Ocon was ahead of Perez. They had Magnussen ahead. They knew they were racing Hulkenberg, who was running long. And Magnussen was holding them up. Ocon couldn't get past. Perez felt he could get a chance to go past and asked the team to be allowed past Ocon to have a go at it. They gave Ocon 3 laps. I think it actually ended up being about 5 laps. And they swapped the positions. But we heard the radio chatter going on. And eventually they did play it by. And they did, put Perez through. And then we seen the world feed on, I think it was lap 25. And it was, we seen Toto Wolff with his finger hovering over a button for the radio called Tactics. And then we seen it, and it's the picture you've got on your screen, which is Hamilton passing Bottas into turn 13, the end of the second DRS zone. And we then heard the radio call, which was, let Lewis through into turn 13 on this lap. And we then had strategist James Vole come on, saying we had a risk with Lewis, with Vettel. He's got a blister on his left rear that we're worried about. It's caused a big, massive brouhaha, this. It's caused a big fuss. In terms of a pure fan perspective, am I happy about it? Of course not. I want to see the drivers fight it out. I want to see it being done on the track. So am I happy about it in that sense? No, of course I'm not. Anyone who says they are, if they're a pure fan, just looking at it from that point of view, of course they're not. Valtteri's had some terrible luck this year. He's deserved a win. However, this is a team sport as well as a driver's sport. Hamilton's the one in line to win the World Championship, or win with the chance to win the World Championship. Valtteri is not. And for Mercedes, their goal is to win the championships, preferably the constructors, because that's what they're there for most of all. But they want to win the drivers as well. Their best chance of doing that is obviously with Lewis, obviously. And their best chance of doing that is to have as big a points gap as possible. The old expression, money talks. Money does talk, and the money comes from winning championships. The old expression in America is win on a Sunday, sell on a Monday. It doesn't quite appeal in F1 as much, but it still can count. And when you look at the bigger picture, team orders are legal. What they did do is they've done nothing wrong in terms of the sporting context. Is it left a sour taste? Yes. But they've not done anything wrong. They're in their rights to do it. Ferrari have been doing it for years. Let's go back to the Schumacher years. Let's go back to Fernando Alonso, Felipe. Fernando was faster than you. Let's go back to Red Bull, Multi-21. Seb ignored it. Nothing happened there. Seb got quite a bit of preferential treatment sometimes, I would say, personally. But that's my opinion. This has been going on for years. Someone said, I was listening to TalkSport, a radio station here in the UK the other morning on Monday, and someone says, just have a drivers' championship. There's one big problem with that. If you have just a drivers' championship, do you think Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, Honda, do you think they're going to be in F1 just for a drivers' championship? No. The manufacturers are there because they want to win the constructors. That's why they're there. So if you only have a drivers' championship, the likelihood of those teams being there and those manufacturers being there, even if they just make engines, drastically drops. So they're doing what they've got to do, what they feel's right for them. It's unfair in Valtteri, but it's a team game as well. We know it's there, we might not like it, but it is part and parcel of the sport. So as a fan, I wasn't happy about it, but I did expect it. So there you go, there's my opinion on it. And at the other flip side is obviously, but 43 points still a big gap. Japan this weekend, they're expecting possibly it could be raining. What if Lewis DNFs and what if Vettel wins it? 43 points then drops to 17 points rather than 25. What if then the next race in Austin he has another DNF and Vettel wins? Vettel's then leading the championship rather than being tied. There's your difference. That's where it comes into a difference. That could be the difference at the end. That might not happen, obviously, but you can never predict it. And that 7 points could be the difference at the end of the season. You just never know. So Mercedes have got to hedge their bets to do what is the best thing to ensure, as much as humanly possible, they get both championships. And that's all they've done here. So Hamilton was now in the lead, and the other part for me as well on this is once Hamilton was through, he pulled out a gap here around about 2 to 2.5 seconds within a number of laps and maintained it, which for me as well shows that he did have speed. He did have some additional speed that he couldn't quite deploy while behind Valtteri. That's not to say Valtteri didn't have some extra speed because he was behind Verstappen, but once Lewis got away from being behind Valtteri, he pulled out a gap of about 2 to 2.5 seconds and maintained that for the majority of the rest of the race. Now that says to me that Lewis still had some speed in the car. So could he have got past on the track? Maybe. Would I have preferred he got past on the track? Absolutely. But it is what it is, and at the end of the day, the record book shows that Lewis Hamilton won the 2018 Russian Grand Prix. Perez did get past Ocon, but they switched that back so he couldn't get back past Magnussen. Hulkenberg pitted in lap 36. He rejoined behind both Force Indias, so even though trying to get past Magnussen, it didn't make a difference. Verstappen was still lapping faster than Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel, despite being on 37 lap old tyres, which I thought was phenomenal in its own right. Absolutely crazy. Ricciardo pitted in lap 40, changed his front wing due to that earlier damage. As I say, Hamilton tried to get past Verstappen as he was stuck in traffic, but then dropped off as Verstappen just scampered away. Verstappen then pitted in lap 43, went on the ultra softs. Now I thought he might have went on the hypers, but they probably would have dropped off pretty quick, and the Dutchman just wasn't quicker on the softer tyres, even with low fuel, as he was on the soft tyres. So the car was set up in such a way, and not much happened towards the end. So Hamilton won from Bottas, Vettel was in third, Raikkonen in fourth, Verstappen in fifth, Ricciardo 6th, Leclerc 7th, Magnussen 8th, Ocon 9th, Perez 10th, rounding out the points. So Hamilton, although it was an assisted win in one sense, he did pull away when he got by, held that gap, as I say. He'll surely be the champion. We said that for the last couple of races now, without DNFs or some bad luck. He did make sure to go and thank his teammate first of all afterwards, and he tried to put the right words towards it. I'm sure, as much as people hate on Hamilton, I think he did mean what he said. He is genuinely a racer. I think he'd rather win it on the track, but everybody's got their opinions. He is quite a Marmite character, he always has been. Bottas shoulda, coulda won. Team played, obviously, the team game for the bigger picture. It is a shame for him. He does deserve to win a race on merit. You probably will win a race before the end of the season. It might be due to a switch. I hope he wins it on merit, though, because he deserves it. Vettel got past in the pit stop phase, but couldn't keep Hamilton behind him. P3 is probably the best he could have hoped for, considering. And as I say, I don't know what's happened to Ferrari. They've lost some pace somewhere. I don't know where it's gone. Or if it's just a case of Mercedes have upgraded and just found some extra pace from somewhere. Raikkonen, I almost forgot he was in the race. Just couldn't keep up with the top three. Obviously he was far enough ahead of Verstappen by the end because the Dutchman had to pit after running long. Verstappen was obviously given the drive of the race. I'm going to give him mine as well because he came from 19th to 5th. Some great pass in the early doors. Obviously he did have a superior car, but you still have to make the moves. And he was old tyres, still lapping much the same pace as those up front, so he done really, really well. Led the most laps as well, which is amazing to think when he starts 19th, but there you go. Can you imagine what he could have done if he had started at the front? Ricciardo didn't have the pace of Verstappen, which we found out was due to the damage to his front wing. P6 probably the best he could have hoped for. Charles Leclerc, if you're going to give a second driver today, I'd probably given it to Leclerc. He had a great weekend, qualifying made it, couple of good passes, including that one on Magnussen. Best of the rest, consistent race, took back P7 when Hülkenberg made his late pit stop. Magnussen struggled on the tyres early doors. The Haas just didn't look comfortable round here this weekend, but he's managed to take more points, so he'll be glad of that. Ocon 9th, tried to overcut on Magnussen, but the tyres were gone, so he couldn't put the laps in, came out behind him. Done the swap with Perez couldn't do it, so they swapped back again. Perez, same as above, he tried the undercut, I believe, but that didn't work, so he couldn't make the ground up. Grosjean done the early stop due to his poor tyres, and just didn't really see much of him after that. Unfortunately, he's just outside the points. Hülkenberg had the fuel save towards the end, and the Renault's not very good on softer tyres, so he just kind of faded away at the end due to that. But they were a wee bit unsure as to why he had to fuel save as much at the end. The team are investigating why that happened. Ericsson 2 stops, so lost places on his top 10 start compared to his teammate as well. Obviously not good that he finished in 12th. Alonso tried to undercut others but couldn't make it work. He just seems to be counting down the races now. Probably still most likely to be going to IndyCars next year, but still waiting on an announcement for that. Got a radio call at one point about Stroll and his pace, and he was like, I don't care. Typical Alonso radio. Stroll was 14th, pitted early. He was only 0.9 of a second behind Alonso at the end. Now, I don't know if that says about Williams catching up or the fact that McLaren are just struggling badly, but either way, not good. Van Dorn 15th, he's struggling again. I think the simplest bit about McLaren is the only good thing at the moment, Ted Gravitz said in his notebook, is that the brownies and the McLaren hospitality is about the only good thing about them right now. Sainz was 16th. He had the damaged car after getting hit by Sirotkin early doors. It damaged the floor and obviously meant he lost the downforce. He had quite a poor race because of that. Sirotkin was the last runner in 18th. Sorry, Sainz was 17th. Sirotkin in 18th. He got squeezed at the start and obviously caught Sainz. Lost a lot of time, pitted early. Ruined his race, couldn't really do anything with it. And the only two retirees were the two Toro Rossos, Gasly and Hartley, both in the same lap. Long brake pedal, brake issues. Turned out the brakes were running really hot and a piston just basically popped and caused the brake pedal to go to the floor. Both cars spun. Team investigating what caused that to happen. In the championship then, Hamilton on 306 points, 50 ahead of Vettel in 256. Bottas now in third, 189 to Raikkonen's 186, only 3 points between the Finns. Verstappen on 158, Raikkonen on 134, and then Magnussen and Hülkenberg on 53 points apiece, but Magnussen ahead of the German by virtue of having the slightly better results. I Need to check which one is which, but he's ahead. Constructors 495 to Mercedes, Ferrari 442, Red Bull 292, Renault are still leading the Formula B, if you want to call it. 91 points to Haas on 80, McLaren on 58, Force India are already back up on 35 points in 7th, Toro Rosso on 30, Sauber 27th, 7 points, and Williams still at the bottom on 7 points. But that is the Russian Grand Prix roundup. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, like and comment. What did you enjoy about the race? What do you think about the team orders? Farce, furry? Do you think they should be banned again? What's your thoughts? Put it in the comments below. I'll comment back as well, and interact with you. I'll be back next week with my thoughts on the Japanese Grand Prix, which is on Sunday, coming from Suzuka, a very driver favourite circuit, of course, Suzuka, of course, in Japan. So possibility of being a very exciting race, because the weather forecast is for some torrential rain, possibly, on the early forecast. So that could be very interesting indeed, if that is the case. But for now, my name's Andy, and until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ta-da.